And for the first time, there was a new school of thought that was chemically induced that made people question the very society they lived in. By 1960, the President of the United States was only 42 years old. Can you imagine? DMX is older than that. And he was gonna usher in a new era of peace. He was gonna avoid the Cold War. He was gonna end segregation. And they blew his things out in front of everyone in Dallas. This country was never the same.
Right now, if you had them prepare themselves in whatever way they would have to prepare themselves to come to battle, and I bet what I have, everything I have, that meatloaf.
Are there any good white people in the world?
There may be, but it doesn't matter. And you know why? No matter how good an individual white person may be, they have an obligation to look out for the best interests of the white race.
I seen this dude screaming, crying, saying, "You fuckers did it right now. I don't want to hear nothing from you self-righteous libs, Democrats. We're coming for you." Knowing damn well the person that did it, y'all know what it is. Betty White.
Listen up, this one's messy. Charlie Kirk's fan base is out here pointing fingers at black and brown communities like they're the problem, all because people aren't mourning his death. Let's be real. This is the same man who once claimed black folks were better off before civil rights just because he thought crime rates were lower. That's a straight-up slap in the face. And don't forget, this isn't new behavior. These are the same circles that laughed at, mocked, and dismissed the deaths of Breonna Taylor, Tamir Rice, George Floyd, and countless others taken far too soon. Now suddenly, they expect the world to flood social media with sympathy for Kirk? The hypocrisy couldn't be louder if it had a megaphone.
It shows they were actually better in the 1940s. It was bad, it was evil, but what happened? Something changed. They committed less crime.
The split right now is wild. Black celebrities are jumping into the debate. Some are keeping it polished and careful, but others aren't holding back at all. A few stars flat out said they feel zero sympathy for Kirk, period. Even 50 Cent stirred the pot with a post so raw and unfiltered he had to delete it after the internet blew up with backlash. But here's where it gets twisted. Some of Kirk's own supporters are turning on him. His very own followers are spiraling online, throwing out threats against his life like it's nothing. It's chaos from the inside out. And if that wasn't dark enough, here's the kicker. When news broke about the Colorado school shooting just hours after Kirk was gunned down, those same voices had nothing to say. Not one word of compassion for the innocent victims. Yet now, they're demanding sympathy.
And women and children were killed in violent lynch mobs.
That's your explanation, but
racial terror permeated American culture for hundreds of years.
Black America is
you don't
worse
think
than it has been
that affected?
This is America at its most backwards, and the double standards are impossible to ignore. The silence in some corners is deafening, but not everyone is staying quiet. Amanda Seales came swinging, saying straight up she feels no empathy for Charlie Kirk, and she wasn't sugarcoating a thing. On the flip side, Dr. Umar stepped in with a warning, telling black folks not to celebrate Kirk's death, urging restraint and caution. It's like watching two different worlds collide in real time, and the tension is off the charts.
It's worth it. I think it's worth to have a cost of, unfortunately, some gun deaths every single year, so that we can have the Second Amendment to protect our other God-given rights. That is a prudent deal. It is rational.
So what does this really tell us? Is it just celebrities chasing shock value to keep their names in the headlines? Or is it exposing something deeper? Those raw, ugly divisions cutting through America are on full display. The reactions are split down the middle, and every word is adding fuel to a fire that's already burning hot.
Clinton in the 1990s, it was all about empathy and sympathy. I can't stand the word empathy, actually. I think empathy is a made-up New Age term that it does a lot of damage, but...
And right when the chaos was peaking, here comes 50 Cent. You already know he wasn't about to drop some polished PR apology or a soft condolence message. That's not his style. Instead, 50 went full savage mode, posting a screenshot of the exact moment Charlie Kirk was shot with a caption that sent social media into meltdown. Want to know how I feel about this? I don't know, but I do know it's a good time to shut the fuck up now. That one line lit the internet up like fireworks. Kirk's fans lost their minds, calling 50 cold-blooded, heartless, and accusing him of celebrating Kirk's death. Comment sections exploded with outrage, and angry fans were screaming that 50's career was done. But the internet wasn't holding back either. People fired off theories, clowned Kirk's hypocrisy, and dragged his name for mocking the deaths of black victims of police brutality. The message was loud and clear. Don't expect sympathy when you never gave it to us. One fan wrote, "I'm not feeling sympathy for someone who would call me every slur in the book." Another snapped back with, "All this outrage is performative nonsense, but when parents lose their kids in school shootings, the silence is deafening." The comments were buzzing with raw, unfiltered emotion. Then came D.L. Hughley, and trust, he wasn't about to hold his tongue. First, he reposted a TikTok where someone shredded Kirk using his own words against him. The clip reminded everyone that Charlie once said, "It's worth having shooting victims here and there if it means keeping his guns." And let's be clear, that wasn't taken out of context. That was a direct quote, plain and simple. Hearing that played back now hit like a gut punch. The internet boiled over because here was a man who openly downplayed lives lost. And now his supporters were demanding endless compassion. The double standard had people furious, and D.L. Hughley made sure nobody forgot what Charlie really stood for. But he wasn't done. He went even harder, doubling down by blasting out a clip of Speaker of the House Mike Johnson asking for prayers for Charlie and his family.
I have watched any number of people of all kinds of stripes, people, theologians, politicians, people consider themselves activists, all kinds of people on the conservative right talk about empathy, and they talked about empathy as if it was a pariah, empathy as if it was a moral failing, and they referred to empathy as a weakness. And it's interesting that they would call themselves Christian and be anti-empathy, because that is the tenet, a core tenet of Christianity. So that is being a Christian without the empathy is like being a sushi chef without the fish. But empathy is apparently a weakness to a lot of people, and you never know. But I've always believed and hold this now, that empathy is quintessentially human. It is the core of humanity. It certainly is the core of Christianity, if you call yourself Christ-like. But how is it that you can despise empathy, that you think it is a weakness, that you think that people are susceptible to it, like it's a cold or it's a flu, and that you despise empathy, but would like it when someone who you love is hurt or killed? We can either decide to be human and empathic, whether we relate to, like, or understand a person or not. But in America, nothing is more American. Nothing is more quintessentially who we are than violence against people we disagree with, and then having a lack of empathy when we don't relate to them. We don't like them, they don't look like us. I don't know how you can be a Christian nation and call yourself a Christian nation, stolen versus Christianity, but only be empathic when they look like you. That's not Christianity. That's not humanity. That's tribalism.
DL wasn't having it one bit. He dragged Johnson in the caption, asking, "Has Mike Johnson ever done this for victims of school shootings?" The silence after that question was loud enough to echo, but DL didn't stop there. He pushed harder, pointing out how Johnson never lowered flags for Congresswoman Hortman and her husband Mark after they were killed. Nothing but crickets. Then, when news broke that Donald Trump himself ordered U.S. flags lowered to half-mast in Charlie Kirk's honor, DL lost it all over again. He reminded people this was the same Trump who once demanded flags be raised back up when they were lowered to honor the Pope. Yet for Kirk, suddenly America was bending over backwards. The hypocrisy cut deep. DL called out how flags have still never been lowered for children murdered in mass shootings, not even for Congresswoman Hortman. And then he asked the question everyone else was already whispering. Is it tragic? Sure. But does this deserve that kind of ceremony? You already know the answer, and DL said it with his chest. But he wasn't finished cooking. He came back swinging with a full compilation video titled Hate and Bigotry, Charlie Kirk's Real Legacy.
I can't have empathy for someone like Charlie Kirk. First of all, Charlie Kirk don't believe in empathy. He said it's a bad thing. He said it's some new age made up shit. He also said people gotta be sacrificed in order to protect guns. If he was saying that while fighting for reparations, I may have a little bit of empathy. But this white on white violence, he died? Damn, B. Life comes at you fast. I can't have empathy for someone like Charlie Kirk because I cannot be in his shoes. I have no frame of reference for that. I have no cognizance for that. There literally is nothing about his existence that I can relate to.
It was brutal. Clip after clip exposing Charlie Kirk's most controversial statements, reminding the world exactly what he stood for. The message was clear. While politicians rushed to sanctify him, D.L. Hewley came with receipts, and they were uglier than anyone wanted to admit. His montage was savage. It rolled through Kirk's own words, denying George Floyd was murdered by a cop and even bragging that he wanted Derek Chauvin, the officer convicted of Floyd's killing, released from prison. That raw content hit like a punch to the gut, and people rewatched in shock. But then DL dropped something even bigger, a bombshell hint that left jaws hanging. He suggested the real story might be getting buried, the theory that Charlie Kirk could have been taken out by the very same forces he spent his life defending. DL wrote, "I just want to remind everyone that when someone shot Trump, immediately it was radical left this and liberal extremist that, but it ended up being someone from his own side." That line stopped people in their tracks, and his caption drove it home with a gut punch. Remember, when you point a finger at someone, there are 3 fingers pointing back at you. He wasn't cheering the tragedy. He was dissecting the racial optics and political hypocrisy, showing how America reacts completely differently depending on who the violence touches. Of course, Charlie's loyalists weren't buying it. They stormed DL's comments, accusing him of twisting the tragedy, deflecting from the pain, and excusing the shooter. Still, plenty of other voices backed DL and fired back, saying exactly what many were thinking. These folks are just looking for a reason to start a race war, and they're mad that black people are minding their business and refusing to take the bait. That fiery energy ripped through the comment sections. But DL wasn't the only one getting blasted by Kirk's supporters. Amanda Seales landed right in the crossfire, too. After making it crystal clear she wasn't about to fake sympathy for Charlie, the internet turned on her hard. During a live chat that spread like wildfire across Instagram, Amanda clapped back at commenters demanding empathy. Her response was sharp as a blade. She reminded them that Charlie himself never believed in empathy. So why should she? Amanda doubled down, saying she couldn't force herself to feel sorry for him because nothing about his life, beliefs, or choices was ever relatable to her. That honesty lit a fuse. Kirk's hardcore fanboys came for her with full force, hurling every insult they could dig up. And it wasn't just white conservatives. Black men piled on too, tossing out words like scum, idiot, sociopath, and worse. Comment sections went from heated to flat-out toxic in seconds. Meanwhile, white users went completely off the rails, saying Amanda should be denaturalized, deported, and even ranting about so-called black fatigue. The level of hate thrown her way was next-level ugly. But Amanda wasn't standing alone in the storm. Plenty of voices clapped back, armed with receipts of Charlie Kirk's long history of anti-black rhetoric. They flipped the script, reminding everyone exactly why Amanda had zero reason to mourn in the first place. Supporters made it clear she wasn't celebrating Charlie Kirk's death. She just wasn't pretending to grieve it. She wasn't putting on a fake act of sympathy for a man whose entire career was built on division and harm. One fan summed it up perfectly. Nowhere did Amanda celebrate Kirk's death. Nowhere did she preach hate. She simply said she had no empathy for him. And the receipts don't lie. Charlie himself once dismissed empathy as a new age word and even called it dangerous. If he didn't believe in it, why should anyone be forced to give it to him now? Another fan laid it out raw. Is it sad he was killed? Yes. But does everyone have to care? No. They reminded folks that Kirk had spread lies and hate for years. So why rewrite history now and treat him like a saint? Another echoed the same vibe. I won't celebrate his death, but I won't mourn either. That doesn't make me evil or hateful. That sentiment hit home with thousands fed up with being guilt-tripped into silence whenever they push back. Then came the comment that really went viral. She's too real. Now I get why the media is not on her side. The media hated Malcolm X too until I actually listened to him. I had no idea what Amanda was really about. That one line turned into a rallying cry, flipping Amanda's stance into something bigger than a reaction. It became a movement of people refusing to fake compassion. Salute to this woman from across the world. She's realer and braver than your fave rapper, and even your fave rapper's fave rapper. Praise poured in heavy. But just when it looked like the internet was rallying behind her, the story twisted because Dr. Umar Johnson entered the chat. Many expected him to back Amanda's no sympathy stance. Instead, he flipped the script with a lecture aimed at black folks. He called out the memes, jokes, and laughter over Kirk's assassination, saying the celebrations had crossed the line. Umar dropped a long, dead-serious statement on IG that split his followers. He opened with, "While I did not agree with Mr. Kirk's rhetoric and considered him an anti-black bigot, I will never rejoice at the loss of life of anyone who hasn't directly participated in the unliving of a member of the African race. I am ashamed to see members of my community celebrate this situation." Straight-laced Umar, no humor, no shade, just stone-cold serious. Then he doubled down. "I will never ask you to mourn the loss of an enemy of our race, but to celebrate an unliving is completely unacceptable. We know all too well that the greatest victims of political assassinations in this country have been our own people." His message was crystal clear. Stop laughing at others' misfortunes and get prepared. Then came the real bomb. Political assassinations have returned to the United States of America, courtesy of the deep state. That one line spun heads like crazy. But not everyone bought it. Umar's comments lit up with backlash. Fans accusing him of softening the blow, playing holier than thou, and even protecting the same system he always preaches against. One person clapped back raw, "So now we supposed to cry over the same man who hated us? Miss me with that sermon?" Another cut deeper. "I wonder if you would have written this if they shot you." Brutal words that went straight to the point. Plenty stressed that nobody was celebrating Charlie Kirk's death. They just weren't mourning it. Still, the internet got wild. One fan even went too far, writing, "50 lashes for you, Dr. Umar." That kind of violent talk is gross, and feeding into that chaos only makes things darker. Trolls thrive on it, and Umar gave them fuel. Here's the ugly truth. Whoever pulled the trigger got exactly what they wanted: division. The country is splitting at the seams, and every reaction online proves how easy it is to weaponize violence. Celebrities, politicians, regular folks, everybody's got something to say, and every comment is like tossing gasoline onto a fire already raging. So, the real question is this. What do you think about the reactions from 50 Cent, Dr. Umar, Amanda Seales, and the rest? Can America ever have a real conversation about the bigger picture? Or are we already too divided to even see who's really pulling the strings? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Smash that like button, hit subscribe, and share this with someone who needs to hear it.